Welcome to Verbal Pick Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are everyday people. We are listening in on the impeachment inquiry of the House. The Judiciary Committee holds public markup of impeachment articles. Now, Representative Mary Gay Scanlon, Democrat of Pennsylvania, she put up a good case. Hold on, let me let you all listen for a minute.
But to support these articles of impeachment, our Constitution, our country, and our children depend upon it. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My Democratic colleagues have tried to cloak this proceeding as a somber, serious process that they regret having to advance. But that is not the case. This is a nakedly partisan exercise. This has always been about the fact that these Democrats hate this president. They have been focused on removing...
Now you're listening to Representative Kelly Armstrong, Republican of North Dakota.
...marched ahead, undeterred by facts. And make no mistake, this started long before a July 25th phone call. But the Russian conspiracy theory bombed, and obstruction of justice was abandoned after the Mueller hearings fell flat. Campaign finance charges never got off the ground. They poll-tested bribery, but that doesn't work because the alleged victim says there was no crime. But none of that matters because this was never about the truth. This was about politics. So here we are tonight on an ambiguous abuse of power charge. Prior to the election, a member of this committee launched a change.org petition regarding mental diagnosis of the president. And shortly after the election, our chairman stated he was legally elected, but Russian interference makes his election illegitimate. A press release from another member read, "This president's semi-elect does not deserve to be president." And once President Trump was sworn in, the Democrats introduced articles of impeachment almost immediately. In 3 years, they have introduced 10 resolutions related to impeachment. And 17 members of this committee have voted to consider impeachment. And every one of those votes occurred before the July 25th phone call. Here are some statements made by members of this committee. Cloud of treason means we must have a total shutdown of any POTUS agenda item. March 2017. A tweet accompanying a picture of President Obama read, "Great to see our last real president enjoying life." April 2018. Another member, "I don't think this president was fit to serve even before he took office." April 2018. Finally, an exasperated committee member wrapped it all up by revealing, "I think we just need to impeach the guy." There it is. That's what this hearing's always been about, and that's why we are all here tonight. The Democrats just want to impeach a duly elected president.
Now I have to say this. Of what Kelly Armstrong is saying of North Dakota. Look, the fact remains that if you're the president of the United States of America and you hold the highest office in the land, and you seek aid from a foreign government to help you or assist you in any way, shape, or form in a presidential election by withholding funds to Ukraine if they don't give you dirt on one of your political rivals. If they can prove that, I'm sorry, it's over. Because what the Democrats can say is, hey, look, we hold the fear that any president who uses their power to seek aid from another foreign government to aid them in a political process of America, that's gone too far. Actually, that's gone too far, because what they can say is, hey, look, what if another president comes in and creates or do the same thing, creates a trend of that, then where we stand and what would that accomplish? I mean, they're going on the the fear of what possibly could come from this, or what can continue for 8, 12 years from now. So, hey, it's real. Now, this is Sylvia Garcia, Democrat from the great state of Texas.
An obstruction of Congress. This should weigh heavily on each one of us because the future of our democracy depends on it. I have raised my right hand and put my left hand on the Bible more than once. I have sworn an oath of office to the American people and to the Constitution of the United States. We have all taken this oath and are bound by it to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. This very action of taking an oath and giving your word is a powerful one. Many of us take different oaths throughout our lives. From a young age, we develop our sense of right and wrong. We learn the Golden Rule, and for many of us, the Ten Commandments. We are taught that our word matters and what happens when we go back on it. This is true for millions of young girls and boys across the country that have taken the Girl Scout or the Boy Scout pledge. As a country girl, I took the 4-H pledge. I still remember the parts that remain with me today. I pledged my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service for my club, my community, and my country. This pledge is meant to teach the value of fulfilling your promise to others, of loyalty and service. Today's proceedings are about our pledge to the Constitution and the future of the Republic. This commitment was shattered by Donald J. Trump when he violated his oath of office, his promise of loyalty and service to the American people. The framers of the Constitution included impeachment as a safeguard against a corrupt president.
And there you have it. Trump has to prove that he didn't violate the oath of the United States of America to hold that office. It's going to be hard to do. It's going to be hard to do because they have him. They have him. Now, what Republicans are messing up is they don't have the evidence to prove that they're going after President Trump because Hillary Clinton lost the election and they want to rewrite history. That's you can't prove that. That's grasping at straws. You can't tell the American people the reason why the Democrats are seeking impeachment because they're upset that Donald Trump won the election. That's not going to hold. It's not going to stand. They need more. They need more of a solid argument to justify what they're saying. We'll listen a little longer.
I take no pleasure in the work of this committee today. I grew up poor in rural South Texas, one of 10 children. I know the taste of commodity cheese and butter. I know what it's like to stand in line at a welfare clinic to get a shot. And I know what it's like to pick cotton in the hot, blistering Texas sun. I never imagined that I would be a member of Congress. Even less, I never imagined I would be in a position where I would need to consider impeaching a president. Yet last year, I became...
Did she just say she picked cotton in the hot Texas sun? I'm just saying.
I didn't come here
Damn.
to impeach a president. I came here to make a difference in the lives of my constituents and the American people, and to make things better for our next generation of children. And here we are in the middle of a constitutional crisis. We must defend our democracy for every little boy and girl in this country and show them that pledges they take matter and the promises they make do matter. Democracy is a gift that each generation gives the next. We must act and we must impeach. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back. Mr. Stubbe.
Since this president has been elected, Democrats have clamored for impeachment. On the first day of my swearing in as a member of this Congress, Democrats of my class were calling for impeachment on the day that we swore in, long before President Trump made a phone call to the newly elected president of the Ukraine. For almost a year, this Democrat-led Congress and this committee has focused its efforts and its energy on impeaching President Trump. First, the Democrats' theory of impeachment was Russia collusion. After 22 months of investigations and millions in tax dollars spent on Democratic lawyers investigating the president, they found nothing. No collusion. Bob Mueller sat before this committee and testified that there was no evidence that the Trump campaign colluded or conspired with Russia. Next, it was obstruction of justice. But after searching diligently and trying to find any evidence that the president obstructed justice, Democrats abandoned that theory. By comparison, Clinton's impeachment in Article 2 had 7 different incidents of obstruction of justice, supported by the evidence collected by an independent counsel. 7 different incidents of a crime being committed. Then out of the blue, after coordinating with Democratic staff in the Intel Committee, a whistleblower filed a carefully scripted complaint based solely and completely on hearsay. Democrats' theory now turned to a quid pro quo, which I'm assuming, because one of their own candidates for president clearly admitted to a quid pro quo on national television, and there is no evidence of a quid pro quo in the phone transcript President Trump released, that they abandoned that theory as well. The process that ensued was anything but open, transparent, bipartisan, or equitable, abandoning all past historic due process afforded the minority and the president. The Democrats ran a partisan investigation, refusing the rights of the minority, refusing the ability of the president's counsel to call witnesses.
Look, on this impeachment fireside chat we're having, it boils down to, did the president ask Ukraine to give him dirt on Joe Biden's son that he could use as an up in the upcoming president election against Joe Biden, the father of Hunter Biden? And that's it. That's it. You can say, "Oh, y'all doing this because y'all been after him." They might so. It might as well be, and that might be the case. But at the end of the day, they're going to want to know: did the president ask the Ukraine government for dirt on Hunter Biden, and did Donald Trump say that he would withheld funds that was allocated to Ukraine by the Congress if Ukraine didn't produce said evidence of Hunter Biden to use against Joe Biden? At the end of the day, that's what it all boils down to. So it is what it is. And the reason why I was playing these different representatives and their statements, and you can hear them in the background, is simply to say that you can say what you want, and you can go from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. discussing the impeachment inquiry, but the fact still remains at the end of the day, did he or didn't he? And that's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. Did he or didn't he ask Ukraine president for info on Hunter Biden so he can use it against Joe Biden in the upcoming presidential election? If so, then that's a crime, broke the law, and they'll move forward on that. And it's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. Hey. And the argument the Republicans are putting up is so weak that they're standing on. They should have took a different position. But, hey, it is what it is. Now, you may say, well, where do I stand? Black folks in politics, look, folks think we've been in certain situations since we were freed from slavery. And so we had to endure and create no matter who was in office. It never changed our situation. So, with black people, it always is what it is. Verbal Pick Radio, we're out. This is Joe Neguse of Colorado, Democrat. Hold on, listen to Joe Neguse.
Described voting as the primary right by which other rights are protected. Our sacred right to a free and fair election is ingrained in our Constitution. It is a right offered to every American, no matter their background. And yet today, that right is under attack like never before. In 2016, Russia interfered in our elections in sweeping and systematic fashion. And as we know, the Trump administration, the campaign, welcomed at that time that interference. And now, the President of the United States has solicited the interference of a foreign government in the 2020 presidential election for his own advantage. President Trump abused his power and then engaged in a wholesale obstruction of Congress to cover it up. The fact remains that in the history of our republic, no president has ever ordered such a complete defiance of an impeachment inquiry until now. If anything is clear, it is this: every American deserves to know that their president will not endanger our national security, that he or she won't seek to use their power to undermine our free and fair elections, and that they won't tap a foreign government to help tip the scales in their favor. The framers of the Constitution prescribed impeachment in that sacred document because they feared a moment like this one. And the articles of impeachment before us are our mechanism for accountability. So ultimately, we must move forward with the solemn and heavy work before us. But I hope that as we do so, while some may agree with this process and some may oppose it, everyone will remember that at the end of the day, each and every one of us are Americans. We all treasure the same flag. We all revere the same Constitution that this committee is working so hard to uphold. Like many of my colleagues, when I ran for Congress, I knew that the hardest part would be being away from my wife and my infant daughter. My daughter is 15 months old now, and I think a lot about the world that she will inherit. She's not old enough to understand the proceedings before us today, but one day she will be. And one day I hope that she will know that this committee had an obligation to defend our democracy, to honor our oaths, and to uphold the rule of law. So I will support the articles of impeachment before us, because it is what the Constitution requires of us, and it is what my conscience demands. And I hope and I pray that my colleagues will do the same. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Ms. McMahon.
You just heard the next black president of the USA, United States of America, Joe Neguse, Neguse, Democrat out of Colorado. If there'll be a next black president, you just heard him speak right here on Verbal Pick Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life